Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
Disney is quietly yanking Snow White from theaters and store shelves across the US, and even insiders in Hollywood didn't see it coming. It's like they're trying to pretend the movie never existed at all. Billions down the drain, theaters empty, and now word is spreading that Disney's scrapping future woke remakes altogether. But the real drama? That's all swirling around Rachel Zegler. After months of non-stop backlash and the film tanking at the box office, Rachel's reportedly spiraling. She's been breaking down on live streams, lashing out in interviews, and facing the harsh reality that this movie might have just wrecked her entire career.
Yes, it's all Rachel Zegler and her behavior. And if it was just one comment, it probably would have been forgotten by now. And it became such a disaster that they had to shut her up, which was the smartest move they made.
Even theaters were over it. Chains that were required to show Snow White on a set number of screens started pushing back. They reported embarrassingly low turnout, even on weekends, and basically begged Disney to let them stop airing it. In many cases, they didn't wait for a green light. They just swapped in anything else they could find.
Watch a children's movie as a single man like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater. Even if Disney still had the most talented people in the world working, with the best writers, with a good sense of narrative and the cultural moment, even if everything worked perfectly, it would have been almost impossible for this movie to succeed.
Then came the video that went insanely viral. A fan walked into a Snow White screening, filming the empty seats. You could count the people there on one hand. Okie dokie, I'm walking into Snow White, 2 p.m. Let's see how empty it is. The fan joked. Only 2 people were sitting inside. The whole scene felt less like a Disney premiere and more like a school assembly no one wanted to attend.
Okie dokie. I am walking into Snow White, 2 p.m. Now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope it's off the woke we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people. One, two. Okay. 2.
And overseas, it got even messier. Lebanon didn't just remove it from theaters, they flat out banned the film altogether. It's not being shown, streamed, or sold. Period. Then came the most brutal slap in the face for Disney. Lilo and Stitch started outperforming Snow White's entire US box office total during just its opening weekend. Think about that. It wasn't even some huge Marvel event. It was just Lilo and her alien dog. And it still steamrolled Disney's supposed blockbuster like it was a joke. Merch isn't moving either. Disney thought they could create fake hype by releasing limited batches of Snow White dolls, mugs, and t-shirts. But months later, the shelves are still full. No one's buying it literally. Behind the scenes, it was chaos. As the movie bombed publicly, even more drama was leaking to the press. And none of it helped Rachel Zegler's case. First came Gal Gadot, who played the evil queen. In a carefully worded interview, Gal didn't throw Rachel under the bus, but she sure didn't defend her either. She blamed the disaster on a misalignment between fan expectations and what the film delivered. Translation: don't look at me, this was a studio problem. She explained how teamwork is key in filmmaking, especially with iconic characters like the evil queen and Snow White, but then dropped the real bomb. We didn't really have teamwork, she admitted. Gal went on to say there were constant setbacks and that the process was draining. When asked if she'd speak more about what it was like working with Rachel, Gal gave the most loaded answer ever. I'll talk about that when I feel comfortable. One vague sentence, and just like that, the internet exploded with rumors. She continued, "Those who follow me will be satisfied when I'm ready to share more." Fans instantly took that as confirmation that things behind the scenes were messy, and that Gal was staying silent for now out of sheer professionalism. Meanwhile, Rachel's other co-star, Andrew Burnap, ghosted the entire premiere. No press, no promo, nothing. And here's the kicker. Rachel herself had already told the press his scenes might get cut. She straight up said, "All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby." Can you imagine? You pour months into filming a Disney movie and then your co-star tells the world you might not even make the final edit. It's no wonder Andrew skipped the red carpet. Clearly, the energy on set wasn't just off, it was toxic. And then Disney made its boldest move yet. They pulled the plug on Tangled, their next big live-action reboot. No teaser, no trailer, no formal announcement, just gone. Disney didn't officially blame Snow White, but come on, it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. Tangled was being set up to be the next billion-dollar franchise. And guess who was rumored to be in the running to play Rapunzel? Rachel Zegler. But after this disaster, Disney clearly wanted nothing to do with the same formula again. And it wasn't just about replacing the lead, it was about changing the entire strategy. Tangled would have required another massive budget, tons of fan hype, and a full campaign centered on a face the internet had already turned on. Disney couldn't afford another PR nightmare. That kind of quiet cancellation only happens when top execs are convinced the star is part of the problem. What we're seeing isn't just one flop, it's the industry rejecting the whole project. Studios are backing away, directors are staying quiet, and Rachel's still stuck at the center of the storm. But nothing could have prepared fans or Rachel for what came next. After months of confidently defending Snow White, hyping it up during press junkets, and promising packed-out theaters, Rachel Zegler ended up sitting in one of the emptiest screenings of her entire career. And yep, it was caught on camera. Leading up to the release, Rachel was riding high on confidence, maybe too high. She told fans this version of Snow White would break new ground. She insisted people would line up for it. She claimed the original was outdated and that her take was the fresh, empowered reboot audiences needed. But once the movie dropped, reality hit like a truck. When the online backlash hit a fever pitch, Rachel tried to do some emotional damage control. She posted a tearful video to Instagram, clearly holding back tears. It felt raw and vulnerable. Fans were turning on her. Her press clips were getting mocked, and suddenly the fearless promo energy turned into full-blown crisis mode. "To everyone who hates when I win," she said through a shaky voice, "the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her." She continued, "Despite my flaws, my cracks, and my breaks, there are many. I can only hope that people still wait in line to see what I do." But that poetic plea didn't land. What came next would haunt her. Rachel later arrived at a screening of Snow White, bouquet in hand, grinning for photos as if it were a triumphant moment. But the vibe inside told a totally different story. The theater was practically a ghost town, just a few scattered people, rows and rows of empty seats. What was meant to be a power move turned into pure meme fuel. Social media exploded. People shared the clip with captions like "Snow White and the 7 empty seats." Others quipped it looked like she was bringing flowers to a movie funeral. One fan joked the event looked more like a rehearsal for a haunted house than a Hollywood premiere. Then came the cold, hard numbers. Snow White couldn't even crack $100 million at the domestic box office. Not even close. And this was with Disney's full marketing machine, a global release, and endless media coverage. It bombed so badly it became one of the lowest-earning Disney live-action remakes in recent history. Even worse? Its IMDb rating bottomed out. Critics trashed it, fans dragged it, and the internet made it their favorite punchline. What was once praised as a bold retelling quickly became a cautionary tale. Instead of being applauded for challenging tradition, Rachel found herself blamed for blowing it up. And just when things couldn't get more humiliating, Minecraft happened. Rachel later arrived at a screening of Snow White, bouquet in hand, grinning for photos as if it were a triumphant moment. But the vibe inside told a totally different story. The theater was practically a ghost town, just a few scattered people, rows and rows of empty seats. What was meant to be a power move turned into pure meme fuel. Social media exploded. People shared the clip with captions like Snow White and the 7 empty seats. Others quipped it looked like she was bringing flowers to a movie funeral. One fan joked the event looked more like a rehearsal for a haunted house than a Hollywood premiere. Then came the cold, hard numbers. Snow White couldn't even crack $100 million at the domestic box office. Not even close. And this was with Disney's full marketing machine, a global release, and endless media coverage. It bombed so badly it became one of the lowest-earning Disney live-action remakes in recent history. Even worse, its IMDb rating bottomed out. Critics trashed it, fans dragged it, and the internet made it their favorite punchline. What was once praised as a bold retelling quickly became a cautionary tale. Instead of being applauded for challenging tradition, Rachel found herself blamed for blowing it up. And just when things couldn't get more humiliating, Minecraft happened. And what makes the whole thing wild is how fast it all fell apart. Just 2 years ago, Rachel was Hollywood's next big thing. Her performance in West Side Story had critics raving. She was getting nominated left and right, and major studios were lining up to work with her. Getting cast as Snow White was supposed to be the moment that solidified her as a household name. Instead, it's the role that may have tanked her career. Now, it's no longer about whether Snow White flopped. The real question is whether Rachel can escape the shadow of that failure or if she'll be stuck with it forever. In Hollywood, success fades fast, but failure sticks. While Rachel tries to navigate the wreckage, Disney is doing some serious soul searching. According to reports, internal conversations have shifted. They're talking about dialing back the modern messaging, getting closer to the originals, and being way more cautious with casting and PR. In other words, the era of aggressively reimagined remakes might be on pause. For now, anyway. What used to be Disney's proudest creative direction is now under review. And so, the world is watching. Will Rachel speak publicly about the flop? Will she try to spin it? Or will she move on like nothing happened? Will Disney ever admit this was a misfire, or just keep pretending the movie never existed? And maybe the biggest question of all, after all this drama, all this fallout, will fans ever trust either of them again?